Hey everyone, Marc Saltzman here. Today we're talking about the HP TouchPad, the company's first next generation tablet. I call it next generation because if you remember about a decade ago, HP had tablets, but they bear very little resemblance to the tablets we're used to today, like the iPad and a bunch of the Android ones, and now the HP TouchPad. The old ones, by the way, were big and bulky, they were slow, they had limited wireless performance, and you needed a stylus pen, and there weren't a lot of applications for it, so it's a very different game today. While I admire HP for using their own OS, the WebOS, they acquired Palm, I still feel that this product is nowhere near as compelling as some of the alternatives, including, of course, the iPad 2, which I firmly believe is still the best tablet on the market. But let me first walk you through what I do like about the HP TouchPad. So as I mentioned, instead of going the easy way out and just using Android and open source operating system, HP has developed, I think, a very sleek and user-friendly operating system, WebOS. So they acquired Palm and they've got it in some of their pre-smartphones and now in their first new tablet. And it really is easy to navigate and multitask. So for one, you'll see here that they've got what they call a card view. Instead of static icons on the screen, and if you want, you could see icons for some of the things that you want to do, like look at your apps. Like here we go. You can look at it in that view, but it's way better to flip through the open apps, much like what I think Playbook borrowed from the WebOS. You've got this card view, so you can simply look at what you want to do, and then when you're done with it, you swipe up to minimize, and then swipe up again to toss it away. You're ditching it that way. So here is a web browser that's open. The web browser supports Flash, so that's another good thing that I like about it. Performance can be spotty though with Flash video. Sometimes it's a bit choppy, but for the most part you can certainly visit more websites than you can with the Apple iPad because you don't have that limitation with Flash animation and video. Photos look great. These are some photos I loaded of my kids, my family, just swiping back and forth. You can all do everything you can do with other tablets like pinch and zoom and things like that. Just double tap to go back to normal, minimize. There is an app store that is scarcely populated at this point, so they don't have a lot of great apps. But we'll get to those downsides in a moment. Another cool thing about the HP TouchPad is that you can simply type in what you want to do into a search window that's always there, and right away, without even typing enter, it'll find what you're looking for. So here I type music, and speaking of music, it's got Beats audio support. There's that partnership with HP and the Monster Beats folks. So very good sounding quality music. However, there's no iTunes support, so you need to either do one of two things to get music onto the tablet. You connect it via USB to your PC, and you drag and drop music over into, say, using something like Windows Explorer. Alternatively, the second thing you can do is download some HP media management software for your computer, and then it will synchronize that way. But I went for the former, as I'm, consider myself pretty tech savvy, and although you don't do playlists and all that very smoothly, I still like the dragging and dropping over of videos and things like that. Alright, so overall it's a very nice operating system. It feels much like what the BlackBerry Playbook is doing, even though I believe, WebOS, they did it first. So definitely I like that. I like that you can type and right away find what you're looking for. There's Adobe Flash support for the web. The card view is nice, and it synchronizes. I haven't tried this yet, but it also synchronizes nicely with other Palm or Palm smartphones, like the Pre 3. If you've got it nearby, you're able to do things like share websites and share media calendars and all that, and media and calendars and other information between devices locally. All right, let's get to a number of things that I don't like about this product, and unfortunately there are a few of them. For one, I touched on the lack of iTunes support, but that's for any tablet that isn't Apple based. But more importantly, this is a pretty big tablet. This is pretty chunky. If you look how thick it is compared to the iPad 2, it is a number of millimeters thicker. Plus, it's heavier. It's about 1.6 pounds, and you feel it. It is definitely not a super slim tablet like the new Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1. or the Apple iPad 2. And again, it is thicker, and you can really feel the difference after you've played around with the alternative tablets out there. Another thing I don't like is that there's mandatory registration. Unlike the iPad and the Android, you can't just play around with this tablet without giving out any information. You can't just surf the web, and I understand having to put in your contact information or your email address when you want to start downloading apps to register for an account, but I don't like the fact that you can't even turn this thing on. Basically, after you set up the Wi-Fi, you can't do anything else until you register. It's mandatory. So I don't like that from a privacy standpoint, that you can't even play around with it until you give out information. I think the playbook is the same way, but certainly all the Android tablets that I've reviewed, and there are many, and the iPad 2, you can use it to some extent without giving away any information. Speaking of Wi-Fi, which I mentioned, there's no 3G support. So this tablet can't be used unless you've got a smartphone with a personal hotspot feature or one of those MiFi products. So you're limited on where you can get online with this thing. Speaking of online, I've had Wi-Fi issues. So what I'll do is, I've got my wireless network here, Marc Home, but what'll happen is a couple hours later I'll pick up the tablet to do some web surfing and it'll say no connection. So I have to go turn off Wi-Fi and turn it back on again. I'm sure this is a bug that they'll be able to fix with an update. Another issue with this product is there are very few apps. I touched on that earlier, but if you go to the App Store, which is here, there's really not a lot you can find. So here's the what they call the HP App Catalog. We'll load it up. There's really not a lot. There are just dozens. They say thousands in the press release, but unless I'm limited in where I am with this thing, there are not that many apps that I can find. So here are the featured apps, and then you can go back and you can see here's the categories, free. So really, it's lacking in the app department, much like what BlackBerry Playbook is suffering from. That's another thing, and that's basically it. Those are a lot of things, though, that I don't like. That it's fairly bulky and it's thick and heavy. You've got that mandatory registration. There's no 3G. Oh, one last thing. There's a camera on the back, but it's not HD. Where is it here? Sorry, there's a camera on the front for video chatting, but it's not HD, and there's no camera on the back. So you can't take pictures or shoot video with it as easily as products that have dual cameras. And almost every tablet coming out today has dual cameras, or let's say all the major tablets. So for all these things, I think that I'm reluctant to call it this, but I feel like it's a half-baked product. I think that they're off to a great start. I really like their operating system, and it's HP, so you know that they're going to throw a lot of money behind this in order to make it better and better with every iteration. But I just feel that as a first-generation device compared to the competition that is priced relatively the same, it's in the U.S. this is $500 for 16 gigs or $519 in Canada, or 32 gigs is $600 in the U.S., $619 in Canada. I feel that for that same price, you can get a product like the iPad 2 that has 500,000 apps, dual cameras, one of which shoots in HD. There's no mandatory registration, smooth synchronization with iTunes, and so on and so forth. So there's so many benefits to the alternatives that it's hard to endorse the HP iPad in its first generation. But overall, a decent product, but it's got some room for growth. So I hope that helped you if you were on the fence about this and giving you a look at the pros and cons of the HP tablet. I'm Marc Saltzman. Thanks for watching.